Just last week, in several cases, the soldier said, Israeli troops deliberately targeted children. There was a boy who entered the zone. He didn't do anything. Other soldiers claim to have seen him standing, talking to people. That's it. And they dropped a grenade from a drone. In another incident, soldiers tried to kill a child riding a bicycle.
And they get prosecuted for it.
So they have not been prosecuted. Alan, don't lie on television where people can fact you. None of them have been prosecuted.
Yes, they have been.
Which soldier?
I know they have been.
Which soldier was prosecuted for dropping a grenade on a child?
There are dozens
of
them
on national TV. Piers Morgan can come back on the next episode and tell everyone that you're not telling the truth.
In today's video, Mehdi Hasan utterly dismantles Alan Dershowitz during a fiery exchange on Piers Morgan's show. Although Alan Dershowitz attempted to use his typical tactics to justify Israel's actions, Mehdi Hasan was armed with data regarding civilian deaths, blockades, illegal settlements, and the devastating human toll of the conflict. Mehdi Hasan even highlighted the hypocrisy in how violence is discussed and the bias in labeling someone a terrorist. So, let's delve into this and see how Mehdi Hasan effectively counters Alan Dershowitz on Piers Morgan.
Of them have been prosecuted.
Not a single Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child. That is a lie. A demonstrable lie. Everyone watching right now.
Hang on.
I'm sorry, you can't say things.
Hang on. Just to be clear, Alan, what Mehdi is saying is that no Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child since this war began. Is your information different to that?
Absolutely different. I know for a fact because I was involved in the negotiations with the International Criminal Court, and I arranged for Khan to come to Israel and see the evidence of what has been done, how people have been prosecuted, how the Israeli legal system has been responsive. So I have all the data and all the information.
Name them. Come back on this show and name those soldiers.
It's true that they've been prosecuted.
Come back on this show, Alan, and name those soldiers. I challenge you. Now, I'll finish my point. You interrupted me. Hold on. You interrupted me. I never interrupted you. You've interrupted me twice now on this show.
I didn't interrupt you.
You did, actually. You interrupted to make false claims.
I did ask Alan a question.
Well, let me finish my point. Actually, my second point, Piers, was to you. I dealt with the Gershon basket and the deliberate killing of kids. They just killed 6 kids queuing up for water yesterday. They killed 9 kids queuing up for nutritional supplements last week. Stop interrupting, Alan. Everyone can see you do it.
And it's under investigation.
Stop interrupting, Alan. Otherwise, I'll do it to you and you really won't like it. Piers, let me make my point to you that I'm trying to make. You mentioned the New York Times. I'm glad you've mentioned the New York Times several times. The New York Times piece, the long piece, has a lot in there. 2 important points for you, Piers. I've been coming on this show for over a year talking to you about Gaza. Last April and July, the New York Times reports that Netanyahu's own generals told him there's no military strategy left. There's nothing more we can do. Stop this war. Netanyahu overrode them. So when I was on this show and you were telling me, of course, they're just defending themselves. What else should they be doing? At that time, when I was on this show, Piers, generals were telling Netanyahu there's no war left to be had. They also make it very clear in this piece that the government would have fallen apart had Netanyahu not prolonged the war because he wanted to avoid prosecution. And I'm sorry that we needed the New York Times to say that, because I was saying that on this show to you, Piers. Many people were saying that this war is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. This is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. I know Alan is an expert on criminals. He's defended some of the worst criminals in the world.
Lawyers do defend criminals.
Well, he defends some of the worst people. Epstein, Netanyahu.
Yeah, but lawyers...
No one forced him to defend these people. Piers, no one forced him to go volunteer to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
You can't make aspersions against lawyers.
I can actually. I can say you don't need. You don't need to.
It's not very credible to do that.
Really?
Lawyers do their job.
Hold on, Piers. Somebody forced Alan Dershowitz to defend Netanyahu. He said he's proud to do it. No one forced him to do it.
Which criminal should he defend?
I'm proud to do it.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
He's a criminal lawyer.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. You defend the worst people in the world.
I was proud. Yes. And I was proud to defend Bill Clinton, and I was proud to defend Ted Kennedy. I've defended people I've also defended Palestinians who were charged with offenses in Israel. I've also defended Palestinian students at Harvard who wanted to put up a Palestinian flag.
Have you defended Netanyahu's corruption trial? I think you've only defended his war crime.
Mehdi Hasan didn't just pass on hearsay. He presented well-documented investigations that reveal Israeli soldiers intentionally targeting Palestinian youngsters. We're talking grenades dropped from drones and shots fired at kids on bikes, with this behavior being part of a consistent pattern of excessive force and unchecked authority. As Mehdi pointed out, not a single soldier has faced charges for these actions. 0. This has been confirmed by several human rights organizations, including BTSLM and Human Rights Watch. And let's not forget the New York Times article he mentioned, where Israeli generals themselves acknowledged there was no longer a military strategy in Gaza, stating Netanyahu prolonged the conflict to protect his political career and evade corruption charges. This isn't some off-the-cuff opinion, it's grounded in thorough reporting. Zooming out to the broader context, Israel's military actions have resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians, primarily civilians. Whole families have been erased. Children waiting in breadlines have been wiped out. This isn't defense, it's collective punishment on a staggering level. Alan's feeble attempts to sidestep this by claiming past support for Palestinians or discussing legal nuances completely missed the core issue. The stark reality is undeniable. Gaza is enduring what many legal and international experts describe as genocide. Mehdi was absolutely right to highlight this, and he did so with evidence, unambiguous clarity, and moral integrity. Watching him dismantle Alan's diversions live was deeply gratifying, reinforcing that demanding basic human rights and responsibility is far from radical, it is simply expected.
You know what, Mehdi? I do think it's a very lame...
I've been involved in this corruption trial, too.
It's a very... I've always felt, and a lot of people try this with Alan Dershowitz, because there are lots of things you can argue with Alan about what he believes. But when people go ad hominem about him being a lawyer defending bad
Piers,
people...
Well, I'm going to respond now, since both come
most criminal lawyers I've ever met at some stage defend pretty
Piers,
dodgy
I want
people.
You, Piers, look
it's
at
their job, literally their job.
We're looking at our cameras. Look at your camera and say honestly that you would say to Saddam Hussein's law or Slobodan Milosevic's law or Vladimir Putin's law, you wouldn't say a word about people who choose in the West to go defend those people? Yes, you would. It's just you give Netanyahu a pass. I see him in the same league as Saddam Hussein, Vladimir Putin, Slobodan Milosevic. If a Westerner chooses to go defend these people, no one forced him to. I'm going to question their moral judgment.
Do they have a right to defend?
Of course they have a right to a defence.
Then they should have a right.
But no one forced.
Well, hang on. Then they should have a right to have a lawyer defending them.
Of course.
You understand that?
Understood.
That's how the legal system works.
So if a British...
justice
Hold
works.
on, Piers. If a British lawyer volunteered to go defend Putin, you wouldn't cast any moral aspersions on them. Don't lie, Piers. You know you would.
So just to be clear, who should Alan be defending? Give me some criminal names.
People in New York, people wherever he lives.
Which criminals?
Why does he have to go defend Netanyahu?
Give me some names.
Hold on. Why does he have to go defend Netanyahu?
I think it's a crazy attack.
I look at vile people and I wonder, why would you volunteer to go defend that person?
Because they're lawyers.
Let's get straight to the heart of the matter. What Mehdi Hasan pointed out wasn't that people shouldn't have legal representation. That's a basic justice concept everyone agrees on. Instead, he was highlighting the ethical decision-making involved. Nobody is obligated to offer their legal services to defend every despicable leader or sneaky politician. It was Alan's decision to represent Netanyahu, Trump, or Epstein. Mehdi has every reason to question him on that. Similar to how if a lawyer from the West today chose to defend Vladimir Putin at The Hague, we'd seriously wonder about that decision. We wouldn't just chalk it up to the legal system's workings, we'd ask, why did you choose to use your reputation to support someone accused of such grave crimes? The debate isn't about the right to a defense, it's about why you'd choose to be the person defending them. Furthermore, Mehdi Hasan's deeper point revolves around Israel's government under Netanyahu, which faces serious allegations of war crimes and potential genocide in Gaza. According to the United Nations and various human rights organizations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, there is evidence of indiscriminate civilian bombings, attacks on hospitals, and aid workers, all actions that defy international law.
Just to be clear, I haven't turned against Israel. I've turned against the current... I want to be very specific, because people love to throw around these phrases.
I agree with you. I apologize. I agree.
I've become increasingly critical of the Israeli government strategy in Gaza. That's my specific position. I'm not against Israel or Israelis or Jewish people. When people conflate it, I think it's really disingenuous. All right, Mehdi.
I agree with you, and I apologize for any implication to the opposite. But that has been the strategy. They're prevailing, and we can't let that strategy succeed.
Alan, that is always the terrorist strategy. It was the strategy of Al-Qaeda. It was the strategy of ISIS. So
that's right. That's right. And the United States overreacted too.
Let me get Mehdi's response. Mehdi.
So a lot was said there again. Let me try and respond. It's insane to suggest that Israel has accidentally killed 17,000 children. Anyone who says that should be laughed off television, whether they're a professor of law or not. 17,000 people were not killed accidentally. The children who were killed in a waterline were not killed accidentally. The children lining up, 9 who were killed last Thursday for nutritional supplements, as UNICEF says, outrageously for UNICEF aid, were not killed accidentally. Children who were shot in the head by snipers were not killed accidentally. I have friends of mine, doctors, who have gone out to Gaza and have come back and said, we saw kids were brought to hospital with sniper shots, bullets to the head, to the chest. Multiple American doctors have said that. Farouz Sidwa, Mark Perlmutter, Irfan Galaria. Go Google it if people don't believe me. So it's nonsense. Israel is killing kids deliberately, has done so for the last 21, 22, whatever so months. You can't push this bullshit line anymore about people were hiding under hospitals.
No, do you disagree?
We've seen it on tape, Piers.
Okay,
we've seen kids killed in cold blood on tape. You've seen it. I've seen it.
Do you disagree? Do you disagree with what Alan said, that this was Hamas's deliberate strategy?
I don't know what Hamas's deliberate strategy was.
We
and
know,
if it was, by the way, Piers,
hang on, let me finish the question. They created a vast tunnel network in which they hid, but left the civilian population to be slaughtered. So, in other words, I think it's perfectly rational to agree with what Alan said about the Hamas strategy.
Yeah, but hold on. What's interesting is, and as you pointed this out, why do it then? If we all know that's the strategy, no one forced Israel to go kill 100,000 people, just like, the Vietnam, the US, we burned the village to save it. No one forced Israel to drop 2,000-pound bombs on crowded refugee places. No one forced Israel to bomb hospitals. No one forced Israel to sniper shoot children. No one forced Israel to kill women holding up white flags, as we saw on tape with our own lying eyes. No one forced Israel to do any of that, which is why Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor, which is why the ICC judges all said Netanyahu and Gallant need to face war crimes charges.
A corrupt prosecutor.
Theodore, hold on, just to be clear on this. I know this propaganda is coming from Theodore Myron, who is a former chair of the International Tribunal on Yugoslavia, a former Rwanda tribunal judge, former legal advisor to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, former Israeli ambassador. Theodore Myron, 94 years old, descendant of Holocaust survivors. He advised on that indictment and said, yes, Netanyahu should be indicted on the basis of all the evidence I've seen. He knows far more about war crimes than you do.
Mehdi Hasan raised a spot-on observation regarding the oft-cited Hamas human shield rationale. While it's true that Hamas operates from civilian zones, this doesn't justify bombing entire areas to oblivion. Israel is aware that Hamas uses civilian casualties to its PR advantage. Yet why does it play into this trap by causing such widespread civilian deaths? It contradicts any semblance of sound military tactics and cannot be morally defended. Let's not sidestep the fact that Israel is deploying weapons and receiving billions in military aid from the US. American taxpayers are effectively funding these bombings. This gives people not just the right, but arguably the duty, to scrutinize what is being carried out in their names. An aspect Mehdi Hasan didn't mention at the time but deserves attention is that various UN bodies and independent human rights groups have gathered evidence of war crimes. The UN has even called for an immediate ceasefire. Still, Israel continues its actions, and no Israeli soldier has faced criminal charges for these civilian deaths. Mehdi Hasan's arguments may appear intense, but that's only because the situation is truly appalling. This isn't merely a theoretical policy discussion. It's an issue involving the fate of tens of thousands of innocent lives. That's all for now. Catch you in the next video.